What if I told you that Coca-Cola, the red and white icon, the fizzy taste of freedom, the symbol of the American dream, is packing its bags and leaving the United States? No, this isn't a marketing gimmick or a rebrand. It's real, and it could change everything we thought we knew about global business, American power, and the future of capitalism. Coca-Cola, born and raised in Atlanta, the drink that cheered American soldiers and plastered holiday ads across every TV screen, is now seriously considering relocating its operations outside the U.S. The reason? A growing storm of tariffs, trade barriers, and economic policies championed by the Trump administration. Policies that, according to Coca-Cola, are not just inconvenient but unsustainable. And this isn't just about one company. This is about a clash between nationalism and globalization, between a country trying to protect its industry and a megacorporation trying to survive in a world of rising costs and crumbling supply chains. Let's break it down. One of the most basic ingredients of a Coca-Cola isn't inside the can. It is the can. Aluminum. And aluminum, especially from Canada, has been hit with tariffs of up to 25%. For a company that produces billions of cans every year, that's not a dent. That's a financial wrecking ball. But that's not the end of it. Coca-Cola doesn't just rely on aluminum. It also imports sweeteners and secret flavorings from Latin America and Asia. And yes, those have been hit with tariffs too. The result? A tangled mess of customs delays, unpredictable pricing, and skyrocketing costs. Coca-Cola tried to adapt. The company scrambled to find local suppliers, to rework logistics, to renegotiate contracts. But when the global market is tight and logistics costs are soaring, even a company of Coca-Cola's size starts to sweat. CEO James Quincy put it bluntly, "We can't carry these costs forever. If we hike prices too much, we lose our customers." And here's the irony. These tariffs were supposed to help American companies. That's the official line from the White House. We're protecting domestic industries from unfair competition. And in certain sectors, like steel and aluminum, that might be true. But Coca-Cola isn't just an American company. It's a global brand with a global supply chain. When protectionism walls off the U.S. from the rest of the world, giants like Coca-Cola find themselves trapped between loyalty and logic. Do they stay and bleed? Or do they move and breathe? This is where the story gets emotional. Because Coca-Cola isn't just a beverage. It's a piece of American identity. Born in the 19th century, raised through 2 world wars, a Cold War symbol of Western freedom, advertised with smiling families, snowy Christmases, and Coke is it blasting from radios. And now, it's saying we're leaving. Imagine Disneyland closing its gates in Florida to open new ones in Frankfurt. Imagine McDonald's moving its headquarters to Singapore. That's the kind of shock Coca-Cola's departure would trigger. It's not just a logistical move. It's a cultural earthquake. Inside the U.S., people are asking, how can Coca-Cola leave America? It's almost personal, like watching a close friend turn their back on you. And the company's response? We're a global brand now. If the country we call home is no longer business-friendly, we have no choice. That answer stings. It's pragmatic, maybe even inevitable, but it still feels like betrayal. Because if Coca-Cola can leave, who's next? And it's not just consumers who are anxious. Boardrooms across the U.S. are buzzing. Ford, Apple, major agricultural giants, they're watching closely. If a behemoth like Coca-Cola is being squeezed hard enough to jump ship, the logic follows. Why should others stay? This opens the door to a much bigger risk. Not just a loss of a brand, but a hemorrhaging of talent, capital, and confidence. The beginning of a corporate exodus. And here's the kicker. Coca-Cola's not just talking. According to reports, they're already scouting new homes. Germany, the Netherlands, Switzerland, maybe even Singapore or Ireland. The criteria? Low taxes, political stability, trade-friendly environments. Sound like anywhere you know? But with every option Coca-Cola considers, new complexities arise. If they move to Europe, they'll face stricter rules on sugar, plastic, and carbon emissions, changes that could force new product lines. If they shift to Asia, local tastes could push the brand into green tea or plant-based alternatives. And for American consumers, it's bad news. Less availability, higher prices, and potentially the loss of thousands of jobs in U.S. factories. So the question isn't just, will Coca-Cola leave? It's what will America look like if it does? If Coca-Cola goes, who's next? That's a question echoing through American boardrooms right now. Because this isn't just about soda. It's about whether the United States is still the best place on earth to run a global business. Ford, Apple, Caterpillar, they're watching. Not because they're ready to leave tomorrow, but because Coca-Cola's decision sets a precedent. It says, if the U.S. makes it too expensive or too complicated to operate, even the most American of companies will walk away. The fear isn't just that Coca-Cola will leave, it's that they might open the floodgates. When one global titan relocates, others reassess their strategies. Trade restrictions, tariffs, and unpredictable policy shifts start to feel more like risks than protections. And when the math no longer works, loyalty takes a back seat to survival. Let's be honest, the U.S. still offers a lot. A giant consumer base, world-class infrastructure, financial and tech hubs. But if the cost of doing business here outweighs those advantages, companies will go where the conditions are better. That means American workers are also at risk. Bottling plants, distribution centers, logistics hubs. Thousands of jobs could be lost, and not just at Coca-Cola. Local suppliers, transport firms, and marketing agencies tied to Coca-Cola's U.S. presence would feel the shockwaves too. And what replaces those jobs? That's the problem. No one knows. Sure, some might argue. Let them go. It's just one company. But it's not just one. Coca-Cola's departure would symbolize a shift in how global business views the U.S., from opportunity to obstacle. Now here's where this really goes beyond business. If Coca-Cola sets up headquarters in Germany, Ireland, or the Netherlands, those countries don't just get new jobs, they gain international prestige. Hosting a brand like Coca-Cola sends a signal. We're open for business. We're the future. And they'll use that in trade negotiations, in investment summits, in diplomatic conversations. Imagine an EU country telling American investors, even Coca-Cola chose us over the U.S. That's not just PR, that's leverage. Meanwhile, the U.S. takes a reputational hit. One of its most iconic brands, born in Atlanta, raised on American soil, leaves because doing business here no longer makes sense? That undercuts every speech about American competitiveness. And at home, it gets personal. Consumers might feel betrayed. Politicians will blame each other. Some will say Coca-Cola abandoned the American worker. Others will argue it was forced out by bad policy. Either way, the cultural bond between brand and country gets weaker. Rival brands won't miss a beat. Pepsi could double down on patriotism. We're staying put. Smaller soda companies might ride the wave of nationalism and brand themselves as the true American choice. And then there's regulation. If Coca-Cola ends up in the EU, it'll face tighter environmental laws, restrictions on plastic, higher recycling targets, stricter sugar content guidelines. That means major changes to formulas, packaging, and marketing. Expensive changes. But there's a twist. Those changes might pay off. Rebranding Coca-Cola as a more sustainable, eco-conscious company could unlock new markets and win over younger consumers. In Europe, Asia, even Latin America, a green Coca-Cola could be a hit. Of course, that also risks alienating traditional American customers. You left us, and now you're following European rules? It's a communication nightmare. Coca-Cola would need to walk a tightrope, appealing to global values without burning its American roots. And in the background of all this, politics. Some will say this proves protectionism doesn't work. Others will argue it wasn't protectionist enough. But one thing's clear, when a company like Coca-Cola relocates, it becomes more than a business decision. It becomes a global event. It challenges our ideas of loyalty, identity, and what it means to be a national brand in a borderless economy. Governments set rules. Companies follow profit. And sometimes those paths collide. So what now? Will Coca-Cola's departure start a trend? Will the U.S. change its approach? Or are we witnessing the slow unraveling of a system where brands used to stay loyal to the countries that birthed them? We're about to find out. Thanks for watching Global Pulse. If you're as stunned as we are, drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next global shift.